Billionaire dad sees his black daughter crying and begging, "Mum, give me back my wheelchair." "Give me back my chair, Mommy, please," Sophia cried, clinging to the cold iron as if it were her last protection. Vivian didn't flinch in pity. She gripped the chair's armrest tightly and pulled suddenly. Sophia fell to the floor with a dull thud. The girl's face collided with the cement, and she groaned, clutching her knee. "Get up, you useless monkey! You're nothing but a burden." Look at that face. Always crying, always begging. Lazy, dirty, worthless trash. Vivian's voice cut through the air, sharp and unapologetic. Before continuing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment saying which city you're watching this story in. Now let's move on. Sophia tried to speak, her between sobs. "Please, my test. I need the chair." The sentence came out small, almost choked with fear. Vivian approached, a look of cruel glee on her face. Without warning, she yanked Sophia by the hair. The pain came like fire. The girl screamed, a high-pitched sound that pierced the chest of anyone who heard it. Vivian pushed Sophia's head against the floor and tightened her grip, as if to assert her dominance. Victor Ramirez stared with a grim expression. His uniform was clean, his hands in his pockets. He was the man who was supposed to protect the house. Instead, he stood still, observing the scene as if it were part of a plan. "And look how she cries," Vivian said, her voice low and cruel. "Always that victim face. No one will believe a little monkey like that. No one will give up their time for her. You were born to obey, to keep quiet." Sophia, her mouth full of dust, tried to compose herself. The skin on her face swelled where Vivian had squeezed. Tears mingled with dirt, and the girl was afraid to breathe, to move. Victor took a step and leaned in. "It'll get worse if you talk. I know your father. He watches what I say. You open your mouth and you lose the house. You lose everything. Just keep quiet and accept it. It'll be better this way." The humiliation grew. Vivian kicked the chair's backrest and smiled. "Crawl, you animal. Show me you're nothing more than a worm crawling on the floor. Learn to obey without complaining." Each word was a bite. On the other side of the house, someone looked out the window and saw the scene. A woman hesitated, but Vivian waved with a perfect mother's smile. The person turned and walked away. The silence of the neighborhood became witness. Sophia held her arm, trying to find warmth in her own body. "I just want my mom," she whispered. The sentence felt like a request too small for such a big world. Victor crossed his arms. "No one will protect you here. I am your father's eyes. I know everything." His voice held no urgency or pity. It was a sentence. Vivian lifted the chair and tossed it into the truck bed. "You'll be without it for a few days. You'll learn. Maybe then you'll understand your place." The engine started, and the rumble of metal filled the air as the truck pulled away. Sophia lay there, her body hot with pain and cold with fear. The ground seemed to sap her strength. The house, which should have been her shelter, seemed to have closed its doors to her. The rage anyone feels upon seeing this grew. It was impossible to watch without wanting to act, but in that moment no one acted. The violence was ready, clear, and there were hands fueling it. Sophia felt something break inside. She thought of her father and the safe house he'd mentioned. She promised that when he returned, she'd tell him everything, but the promise seemed small compared to her fear. Vivian entered the house and closed the door. Victor stood in the entryway, motionless, keeping a secret. Their shadows grew across the floor. Sophia tried to remember the cake her father had made and his voice. Everything came back, bringing more tears. She murmured, "I am more than this." The sentence was small but firm. The engine disappeared down the street. Sophia lay on the ground and felt a spark of anger ignite. It was fear, but also a desire to fight. The story that began there would go all the way to court. I invite you to subscribe to the channel and stay with us throughout this story, as there will be a surprising twist, as evil does not last forever. Sophia remained on the floor. Her face burned where her stepmother had pulled her hair. Every movement of her body was painful, but it also reminded her of the cruel words that still echoed. Inside the house, Vivian walked with firm steps. Her heels tapped against the floor like a hammer. She couldn't hide her anger. This girl thinks she can stand up to me. She's nothing but a burden, and I won't let her grow up thinking she's worth anything. Victor followed behind, calm as if he didn't see any problem. You were tough, but she needs to learn. If she breaks a little, she'll be easier to control. Vivian chuckled. Control? I want her to know her place. I want her to feel like she'll never be loved, that she'll never be more than a shadow. Sophia crept to the door, straining to listen. Her heart pounded, but the desire to understand what they were planning overcame her fear. She pressed her ear against the cool wood. What about Dad? Victor asked. He'll notice. He can't stay hidden forever. Vivian snorted. Raphael is blind. He's always traveling, trusting you and me. He thinks I'm the perfect wife and you're his loyal guard. When he gets back, he'll hear my version. He'll think the girl is dramatic. And if she insists, I'll make her look crazy. Victor crossed his arms. What if he doubts? Vivian stepped closer, looking him in the eye. So you come into play? You're the security guard. Who will the husband believe? The blood of his own daughter, whom he rarely sees, or the man who watches the house every day? Victor's cold smile was the answer. Sophia held her breath, trying not to make a sound, but the wood creaked under her weight. The sound was small, but enough. Vivian turned her head slowly. She walked to the door and flung it open. Sophia fell forward, revealed. The stepmother leaned over, grabbed the girl's hair, and pulled hard. Spying. Want to hear grown-up talk? You never learn, do you? Sophia cried, but with each tear, Vivian seemed to enjoy it more. Look at you. You cry like a baby. That's why you'll never get any respect. You're just a stain on my house. And I'm going to erase that stain. Victor watched without moving a finger. It'll leave her all scarred. It might be dangerous. The danger is that she opens her mouth, Vivian replied. As long as she obeys, she'll survive. But if she dares speak, I'll put an end to this poor little farce myself. Sophia tried to pull away, but Vivian tightened her grip, forcing her head to the floor. The pain was unbearable. Say what you are, Vivian ordered. Say you're weak. Say you're nothing. I am nothing, Sophia sobbed, only for the pain to stop. Vivian smiled. That's better. You learn quickly when it hurts, don't you? She released her, letting the girl fall to the side like a worthless object. Victor took a step forward. He crouched down close to the girl and spoke softly, only for her to hear. Save your tears. If you tell me anything, I'll make it look like you made it all up. Your father will turn against you. And then who's left? Nobody. Sophia closed her eyes, trying to believe that one day her father would find out, but fear told her otherwise. Vivian went to the window and closed the curtains. There, now no one can spy anymore. This house is ours. We're the two of us in charge here, and she is just a detail. Sophia felt her chest tighten. A scream of anger rose, but it stuck in her throat. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees. Inside the house, the silence was now a threat. The girl hugged her own body. The nightmare was just beginning. Sophia was still on the floor, her hair a mess, her skin marked by Vivian's hands. Tears were streaming down her face, but she didn't have the strength to scream. The silence in the house was broken only by her stepmother's footsteps, pacing back and forth as if she'd won. You learned, didn't you? Vivian said, fixing her hair in front of the mirror. I'm in charge here. You only breathe because I let you. Don't forget that. Sophia breathed quickly, trying not to sob. Her body trembled. At that moment, the side door opened, and Rebecca Lane, Raphael's trusted assistant, Maria, entered with a folder of documents in her hand. Her gaze immediately fell on Sophia, who was lying on the floor. "Oh my God!" Rebecca ran to the girl. "Sophia, what happened? Are you hurt?" The soft voice broke the heavy atmosphere. Sophia tried to respond, but Vivian beat her to it. She tripped. "She's always throwing herself on the ground to get attention. I already told you it's her habit, always trying to deceive people with that fragile way." Rebecca looked suspicious. She slowly lifted Sophia, wiping the tears from the girl's face with her hands. "Did you trip?" she repeated coldly. "There always seems to be too many trips in this house." Vivian forced a smile. "Children are like that, full of drama. You work too hard, Rebecca. You have no idea what it's like to deal with such a difficult girl." Sophia, on her assistant's lap, stammered, "She pulled my hair. She said I was nothing." Rebecca froze. Her eyes flashed with indignation, but Vivian wasted no time. "Look, you're making up another one. This girl doesn't know what she's talking about. She's confusing things." Meanwhile, Victor appeared in the hallway, adjusting his uniform. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, as if he were just a concerned employee. Rebecca stared at the man. "Problem? Yes, a child lying on the ground, and you two acting like it's normal." Victor gave a small smile. "I was outside. I didn't see anything. But Mrs. Vivian is a good mother. She always takes care of her daughter." Sophia flinched. His words pierced her like a knife. Victor wasn't just lying. He was taking the witness stand alongside his stepmother. Rebecca noticed. The tension grew stronger. She sensed a pact in that house, something dirty, hidden, but without proof. What could you do? Vivian took a deep breath and approached Rebecca. "Look, I know you like the girl, but don't be fooled. Raphael left me in charge. You're here to take care of work, not to meddle in family matters. Understand?" Rebecca hugged Sophia to her chest. "I understand, but I also understand that a child doesn't invent tears like that. She didn't fall alone." A heavy silence fell over the room. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Victor adjusted his belt and walked slowly to the monitoring room. "I'll check the cameras, just to be sure," he said coldly. Rebecca followed with her eyes. Her stomach sank. If Victor controlled the cameras, he could erase everything. That was why Vivian was so confident. Rebecca took Sophia to her room. She cleaned her face, quickly bandaged her scraped arm, and laid her on the bed. Get some rest, sweetie. You're safe with me." Sophia grabbed the pillow and muttered, "They're going to hurt me again." Rebecca held her hand. "I'll be here. No one will touch you." But deep down, Rebecca knew she was facing something much bigger. Vivian had power, Victor had access to everything, and Raphael, her father, had no idea what was going on inside his own home. From the hallway, a metallic click sounded. It was Victor locking the monitoring room. Rebecca swallowed hard. The evidence was in the wrong hands, and the girl remained defenseless. The front door burst open. The sound echoed through the hallway and made Vivian jump. Raphael Shaw. He had returned earlier than expected. His suit was still wrinkled from the trip, his briefcase in hand, but his eyes were alert. He never announced his arrival, and this put the house on alert. "Sophia!" he called in a firm voice. Rebecca appeared on the stairs, holding the girl's hand. Sophia's face was still streaked with tears, but she ran slowly to her father and clung to his leg. "Daddy!" Her voice was weak, filled with fear and relief. Raphael immediately bent down, picking up his daughter. "What happened to you? Why are you all hurt?" Vivian stepped forward with a forced smile. "She tripped in the garden. She always falls. Raphael, you know, she's clumsy." Rebecca was startled, but it was nothing. Rebecca opened her mouth to speak, but Victor appeared behind her, standing firm, his uniform impeccable. Check it out, sir. I was outside and saw her trip. It was an accident. Raphael looked into Sophia's eyes. The girl trembled, clutched his shirt tightly, and tried to speak. It wasn't a trip. Her voice faltered. Vivian's gaze, cold and menacing, weighed heavily on her. Raphael's heart raced. His intuition screamed. He stood up with his daughter in his arms. I want to see the cameras. Now, the atmosphere froze. Vivian hid it with a nervous laugh. Honey, there's no need for that. It was just a silly fall. The cameras sometimes don't even get the backyard right. I want to see, Raphael repeated firmly. Victor cleared his throat, feigning calm. The recordings are all in the system, but I had to perform maintenance earlier today. Some clips might have gotten lost. Rebecca crossed her arms. Too much of a coincidence. Raphael narrowed his eyes. Show us what still exists. Victor took a deep breath, aware that the risk was increasing. He turned and walked to the monitoring room. Vivian followed him with hurried steps, whispering quickly in his ear, "Delete everything. Now." Sophia hugged her father tighter. Her heart felt like it was beating out of her chest. It was a chance to show the truth, but also the danger of being silenced forever. In the monitoring room, the screen flickered. Victor typed passwords while Vivian tried to distract Raphael. Honey, you're tired from the trip. Leave it for tomorrow. I said I want it now. Raphael's voice echoed, firm as ever. Suddenly, a recording appeared on the screen. Sophia on the floor, Vivian pulling out the chair, Victor standing in the background. The sound was low, but the stepmother's stern voice was audible. Rebecca clapped her hand over her mouth in shock. Raphael clenched his fist, anger flaring. Vivian tried to turn off the monitor, but he pushed her aside. What is this, Vivian? The silence was broken only by the sound of everyone's heavy breathing in the room. Sophia was crying softly, but now there was hope in every tear. Victor, expressionless, suddenly turned off the system. The rest didn't record. It was a technical error. Raphael took a step forward. Technical error? Or are you hiding something much bigger? Vivian tried to speak, but her voice faltered. For the first time, control slipped from her grasp. Tension filled the room. Rebecca looked at Raphael sternly. You need to act. Now. Raphael knew. The fight was just beginning. Raphael held Sophia in his arms, his gaze fixed on the blank screen. His heart beat faster, growing heavier. He had seen enough to understand his daughter wasn't lying. The proof was there, even if Victor had cut out the rest. Do you think I'm an idiot? His voice boomed like thunder. I saw it with my own eyes. You, Vivian, pulling my daughter, and you, Victor, standing there like nothing was happening. Vivian forced a nervous laugh. Raphael, please, don't jump to conclusions. The camera caught a strange angle. I was trying to help, but it looked like something else. Enough, he shouted. The echo echoed throughout the house. Sophia clung even tighter to her father's neck, trembling. Rebecca stepped forward. I saw it too, Raphael. She was lying there, crying, and Mrs. Vivian just made excuses, and Victor tried to cover it up. The silence grew heavy. Victor crossed his arms, maintaining a cool calm. Sir Miz, Vivian is right. It was a misunderstanding. If you still have doubts, I can call another employee to confirm. Raphael glared at him. You're paid to protect my daughter. But I saw you in the background, motionless. You did nothing. That's not protection. That's complicity. Vivian approached. Her eyes filled with mock indignation. Are you going to trust that troubled girl and that assistant more than your wife? I run this house every day. If I were that cruel, do you think she would still be alive? Sophia cried softly. Daddy, she calls me trash, pulls my hair, says I'm nothing. The confession cut through the air. Raphael took a deep breath, trying to hold back his anger. The pain of hearing that from his own daughter felt like a knife in his chest. "Rebecca," he said firmly, "take Sophia to her room. I don't want her to hear any more of this." Rebecca obeyed, picking up the girl and carrying her upstairs. Sophia looked back, her eyes filled with fear, but also with hope. As soon as they disappeared down the hallway, Raphael turned to Vivian and Victor. "If you touch her again, I swear I won't answer for what I do." Vivian lifted her chin. "You can yell all you want, but remember, in court, it's not you who decides. It's the one with the evidence. And guess what? Victor is manning the cameras. You have nothing." Victor nodded silently, a half-smile on his face. He knew he had the upper hand. The recordings were under his control. If he wanted, he could erase them all. Raphael was breathing heavily, anger burning. "Then it's war," he said quietly, "and you're both going to lose." Vivian laughed coldly. "We'll see." As they walked downstairs, Rebecca closed the bedroom door and hugged Sophia. "Your father knows now. He'll fight for you." Sophia closed her eyes, trying to believe. But the fear was still there, trapped in her chest. Outside the door, Vivian and Victor whispered in low voices. Their alliance was clear. They were preparing their next move, and they weren't going to stop easily. Vivian walked down the stairs with her head held high, but inside she was burning. Raphael had seen too much. If you didn't act quickly, you'd lose the control you so loved to exert. She sat on the living room sofa and crossed her legs, beckoning Victor over with a firm gesture. "You missed part of the video," she said, almost growling. "How could you be so careless?" Victor remained calm. "Relax. He saw a snippet, but nothing complete. I already deleted the rest. There's no clear audio, just the image. We can make up any excuse. A stumble, a fall. He has no way of proving anything." Vivian gritted her teeth. "He's angry. He's going to chase me. I need to turn the tables before he exposes me." Victor leaned closer, speaking more quietly. "So we plant doubt. If Sophia talks, we'll make it seem like she's lying. We can say she fantasizes for attention. If we bring someone from school to testify that she's problematic, even better." Vivian smiled coldly. "I've already thought about that. The teacher thinks Sophia is fragile and whiny. If I visit the school and insinuate that she makes up stories, her father will have a hard time defending her." Victor nodded. "And I can manipulate the next footage. If she falls again, I'll leave only the part where she appears alone. It'll look like she actually throws herself to the ground." Vivian's mind was racing. "That's it. We need to show her to be a burden, a liar. That way, when the court hears her, they won't believe a word she says." Upstairs, Sophia could hear muffled noises through the door. Her heart pounded. Tears flowed, but what hurt most was the feeling of being treated like a burden, of knowing that her own stepmother planned to destroy her not only at home, but in front of everyone. Rebecca entered the room with a clean towel and wiped the girl's face. "I heard screaming downstairs. They won't stop, Sophia, but your father knows now. He will fight for you." Sophia gripped her assistant's hand tightly. "What if they lie? What if no one believes me?" Rebecca took a deep breath. "Then we'll get evidence. I'll protect you, even if I have to hide a camera in my own pocket." On the ground floor, Raphael paced back and forth in his office. He picked up the phone and called a trusted lawyer. "I need you to come here. It's urgent. My daughter is in danger." The connection was brief but clear. He knew this battle wouldn't just be at home. It would go to court, and there Vivian and Victor would try to paint Sophia as an unstable child. Meanwhile, in the courtroom, Vivian finalized her plan. "Let's act quickly. If he calls a lawyer, we'll have to tarnish his image too. Spread the word that he's absent, that he never took care of the girl. The court loves stories about fathers who only show up when it's convenient. Victor gave a half smile. I can tell you that. I'm the security guard. I can swear I've never seen him at home, that the girl is almost always with me and you. Vivian leaned toward him, her eyes shining with cruelty. Perfect. Let's take him and this child down at the same time. In the end, everything will be back under my control. The living room clock struck the hour. The tension was rising. Every second was a new threat, and the war inside that house was just beginning. Raphael wasted no time. As soon as Rebecca left the room, he picked up the phone and called a lawyer he already knew. He spoke quickly, without beating around the bush. My daughter is in danger. I need help now. The lawyer's voice was direct. Come here. I'll bring someone from the team and we'll start gathering evidence. Raphael felt a surge of relief in his chest. It wasn't a complete solution, but it was a step. He didn't trust Vivian, and now he knew Victor was on the other side. He needed a plan. Rebecca, however, knew time was short. As she helped Sophia into something clean, she thought about what really mattered. Images. Without images, any story becomes a fabrication. With images, the truth is stronger. She looked at the girl firmly. Let's record. I'll hide a small camera in my pocket. No one can know. Sophia looked scared. What if they find it? Rebecca squeezed her hand. If they find it, we have something valuable. I'd rather take the risk than just cry. At the office, Raphael met with the lawyer and explained every detail. The man took quick notes and said, We're going to file a court order to remove Victor from duty, and we're going to request an expert analysis of the recordings. Don't trust someone who can delete files. Raphael approved. He felt his anger turn into a desire to act. It was the first reaction that eliminated the feeling of helplessness. On the other side, Vivian and Victor didn't stand still. Vivian decided to visit the school in the morning. She wanted to sow doubts, to make people realize that Sophia was dramatic and exaggerated. She dressed modestly, adopting a maternal tone, and left saying she was just trying to understand. Victor declared he would patrol the school grounds to ensure security. It all seemed natural. At school, Vivian easily found her teacher. She spoke softly, insinuating that Sophia made up stories to get attention. She needs limits, she said. The teacher, a tired woman, didn't want to get too involved, but she noted the complaint. Vivian smiled softly. Small seeds of doubt were what she wanted. Meanwhile, Rebecca hid the camera with trembling hands. She tucked the small device into her lab coat pocket and tested the angle. Her heart pounded. If this worked, they could catch Victor red-handed. They could show him as an accomplice. Back home, Victor sensed something was changing. He sensed Raphael's actions and the lawyer's presence. It was time to accelerate his dirty plan. He asked 2 of his employees, friends of his, to begin noticing Raphael's strange behavior, to circulate discreet rumors about him being absent, volatile, and distracted. The strategy was twofold: to discredit Raphael and to transform Sophia into a chronically unstable girl. Rebecca was alert. She knew the next step could be dangerous. She warned Raphael, "They'll try to undermine you personally. Expect attacks." Raphael clenched his hand into a fist. "Let them come. I won't back down." The next night, as the house dimmed its lights, Rebecca carefully activated the camera. She slipped the button into her pocket. Sophia's breathing slowed. It was a mixture of fear and hope. If something happened, now it would be recorded. Rebecca pressed her fingernail against the button on her pocket, feeling the cold metal. She held her breath every time she heard footsteps in the hallway. Downstairs, Raphael could barely sleep. He tossed and turned, thinking about every detail. He'd come to the bedroom to check on his daughter and pause hesitantly at the door. Outside, a wind brought the sound of something dragging. Someone was knocking on the window. The shock made Rebecca hold her breath. What would happen next depended on the next second. Victor watched from the shadows, his smile colder than before, and plans turned to a storm. The sound at the window made Sophia shiver. She pulled the blanket up to her chin and whispered, "He's here." Rebecca tried to calm her, but she too felt a shiver run through her. She got up slowly and went to the curtain. She opened it just a crack. Outside, in the darkness, Victor stood motionless, staring up. His uniform reflected the dim light. Rebecca quickly closed the curtain. Her heart pounded. He's watching. "It's not normal, Sophia. This isn't security. It's a threat." Sophia clutched her pillow and cried softly. "He said if I tell anyone, I'll lose everything." Rebecca took a deep breath. She touched the pocket where the camera was hidden. She needed to record. She needed courage. The next morning, Vivian came home from school smiling. She had managed to plant doubt. The teacher, uncomprehending, would repeat the insinuations at any meeting. "Sophia is always distracted. She seems to make things up." That was all Vivian wanted, small cracks to destroy the girl's credibility. Raphael noticed the change in the air. When he arrived, he found Rebecca tense. She told him about Victor at the window. His blood boiled. "This man has crossed all limits. I'm having him removed from here today." But Victor, cunning, appeared in the hallway at just the right moment, feigning normalcy. "Sir, I heard noises yesterday. I was patrolling to protect the house." "That's all?" The lie came out naturally. Raphael clenched his fist. He wanted to expel him right then and there, but he knew he needed proof. Without proof, Victor would become just another wrongly accused employee, and that could backfire. That afternoon, Rebecca decided to take a risk. She took Sophia into the living room and let her play with paper and pencils on the rug. Then she pretended to go get water and left the camera rolling. She hid behind the door. Victor entered a few minutes later. He stopped in front of the girl and said softly, "Still crying. You'll never be anything more than a burden. Your father may pretend to care, but deep down he knows you're a disgrace." Sophia tried to react, but she just lowered her head. Victor leaned closer. "If you open your mouth, I'll make it look like you're lying. I'll control the cameras. I'll control the house. And if you insist, I'll kill your father too." The camera in Rebecca's pocket captured everything, every word, every threat. Her heart raced. She was getting the proof they needed. Suddenly, Vivian entered the room. "What are you doing there, Victor?" she asked, as if she were just curious. "Educating," he replied, looking down at Sophia. Vivian smiled. "Good. The more she suffers, the easier it will be to break her in court." Rebecca almost screamed. Her hands were sweating. But she couldn't ruin the recording. She had to wait. As they left the room, Rebecca ran to Raphael. She handed him the camera, her face serious. "Listen to this. Now we have something real." He pressed the button and heard the voices, clear as ever. Every word Victor said, every sentence Vivian said, was recorded. Raphael closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Anger was now a weapon. They condemned themselves. "We'll go all the way." Sophia, from the doorway, watched her father with tears in her eyes. For the first time, he believed he could win. Raphael clutched the small camera like it was gold. With every second he listened to the recorded threats, his anger grew. But along with it came the certainty. Now he held a weapon in his hands against Vivian and Victor. "This is the beginning of the end for them," he said quietly to Rebecca. "With this recording, the court will see who they really are." Rebecca nodded. "But we need to keep this safe. If they find out, they'll try to steal it or destroy it. It's not safe to leave it alone in this house." Raphael agreed. He made a copy on his computer and saved it to a flash drive. Then he handed it to Rebecca. "Take it with you. If something happens, this evidence needs to survive." Meanwhile, Vivian paced the room nervously. "He knows too much. If that idiot Raphael reveals anything, I'll lose everything. I can't let him." Victor, leaning against the wall, cold as ever, replied, "If there are recordings, we can say they were manipulated, that Rebecca set it all up to destroy you. Her word isn't worth much, especially if we prove she's obsessed with Sophia." Vivian considered. That might work. In court, an emotional assistant doesn't carry much weight. If we tarnish her image, Raphael loses his most important ally. Victor added, "And what's more, I can plant files on his computer. Make it look like Raphael fabricated evidence. If we succeed, custody goes to you, and he leaves disgraced." Vivian smiled, her confidence regaining. "Exactly. Let's turn this around." In Sophia's room, Rebecca stroked the girl's hair. "You're safe now. Daddy knows the truth and won't let anyone hurt you again." Sophia looked at her with tired eyes. "But they're strong. They're good liars, and everyone believes them." Rebecca took a deep breath. "They lie well, but not forever. What they said is on tape, and when your father shows it, no one will be able to deny it." That night, Raphael gathered documents and screenshots of messages and prepared a dossier. The lawyer was already waiting the next day with a request for urgent measures to remove Vivian from the house. But Vivian, clever, acted first. She showed up with Victor at the police station and reported that Raphael was aggressive and that Sophia was afraid of him. She created a false narrative: an overbearing husband, an absent father, a violent man. The police chief listened attentively. The seed was planted. The next day, when Raphael arrived at court with his lawyer, he found Vivian already standing before the judge, falsely crying. Victor stood beside her, arm crossed, posing as a loyal witness. "Your Excellency, I'm here to protect my stepdaughter. Her father never shows up, and when he does, he yells and threatens. I'm afraid of what he might do. The girl is also afraid, but she's pressured to remain silent." Raphael clenched his fist. Rebecca looked at him firmly. "Calm down. Wait your turn. We have the recording." The mood grew heavy. The entire room seemed to lean toward Vivian. Her performance drew pitying glances, but the judge's gaze remained hard, intent. Raphael knew that would be the decisive moment. "Do you think he did the right thing? We want to know your opinion. Leave it here in the comments." The judge adjusted her glasses and looked at Vivian, who was sobbing with practiced perfection. "Ms. Shaw, I understand your concern, but before I make any decisions, I want to hear from the child's father." Raphael took a deep breath, anger pulsing through him. He took a step forward. "Your Excellency, I'm not perfect, but I've never raised a hand to my daughter. The one who does this is this woman pretending to be a mother. Her and this security guard who's supposed to protect her." He pointed directly at Victor, who didn't blink. Raphael's lawyer handed the judge a flash drive. "We have a recording, Your Honor. We request that it be played now." Vivian's eyes widened. "That's a lie. They fabricated it. That recording is unreliable." Victor stepped forward firmly. "Your Excellency, with all due respect, I manage the in-house camera system. Any edit is possible." "This evidence can be manipulated." The judge raised her hand. "Calm down. Let's hear it first." Silence fell over the room as the audio began. Victor's voice rang out loud and clear. "You'll never be anything more than a burden. Your father may pretend to care, but deep down he knows you're a disgrace." A murmur of shock ran through the room. Vivian paled. Soon after, his own voice echoed, "Good. The more she suffers, the easier it will be to break her in court." The room went cold. Everyone looked at Vivian, who was trembling. The judge narrowed her eyes. "This is very serious. Is there anything else?" Raphael held back tears as he looked at his daughter, who was looking at him with hope. "Yes, that's just part of it. There are more excerpts showing exactly how my daughter was treated inside her own home." Vivian screamed, "This was a setup. This woman, Rebecca, is obsessed with destroying my marriage. She's the one who set it all up." Rebecca stood up, indignant. "I was there because I couldn't bear to see a child suffer any longer. I recorded it because I knew they would erase it all. If this is obsession, then I'm guilty of protecting those who couldn't defend themselves." Victor tried to intervene. "Your Excellency, with all due respect, we can't trust a recording without expert judgment. And who can guarantee that this voice is actually mine?" Raphael's lawyer countered. "The expert analysis has already been requested. The files are original, with metadata intact. That excuse won't work." The judge leaned forward in her chair. "If confirmed, we're dealing with child abuse, psychological abuse, and evidence manipulation. This could lead not only to the loss of custody, but also to criminal prosecution." Vivian's eyes widened. For a moment, her mask slipped. Pure hatred shone on her face. She stood up abruptly, pointing at Raphael. "You're not going to take everything from me. I swear you won't." The court security guards approached. The audience fell into absolute silence. Raphael took a deep breath. For the first time, he felt the truth was on his side, but he knew Vivian and Victor hadn't shown all their cards yet. The courtroom was still silent when the judge ended the audio. The sound of Vivian's final words seemed to echo off the walls. The weight of the recording was etched on everyone's faces. Vivian breathed quickly, trying to reconcile her act. She wiped away her fake tears and lifted her chin. "Your Excellency, that was taken out of context. I was just scolding. Any mother would do the same." The judge looked at her seriously. "Calling a child a burden, a disgrace, and planning to break your own stepdaughter in court, that's not reprimanding. It's abuse." Victor stepped forward, his voice firm. "Your Honor, with all due respect, audio can be manipulated. I know of programs that alter voices. This evidence is unreliable. They're trying to set us up." Raphael exploded. "Setting you up? My daughter was being destroyed at home. This man, whom I paid to protect her, was right next to her stepmother, helping with the abuse." The judge raised her hand. "Mr. Shaw, remain calm." Rebecca stood up, holding an envelope. "Your Excellency, here are screenshots of the threats Victor sent me on my cell phone. He said that if I got involved, I'd lose my job and my life would be ruined. Everything was recorded." The murmur returned to the room. The judge took the papers and read them silently. Her face hardened even further. Vivian grabbed Victor's arm, whispering through her teeth, "You promised you'd erase everything." He replied coldly, "And I deleted it. But she's smart. She recorded it on the outside. I didn't expect that." Raphael's lawyer seized the opportunity. "Your Honor, we request immediate action. Vivian's removal from custody of the child and Victor's preventive detention for threats and evidence manipulation." The judge banged her gavel on the table. "This will be evaluated urgently. Until further notice, the girl remains under the exclusive protection of her father. And I order a criminal investigation into the security guard." Vivian's eyes widened. "No, this is a plot. They want to destroy me because I'm the only one who truly cares." The judge cut her off. "Enough! The court is not a stage for manipulation. You will have the opportunity to defend yourself in the proceedings, but the recordings and documents presented speak volumes." Sophia, sitting on the bench with Rebecca, wept silently. For the first time, tears of relief. She grabbed her assistant's hand and whispered, "Someone believes in me." Vivian was dragged out of the room, screaming, promising revenge. "This isn't over. You'll pay dearly. Raphael, I'm going to finish you." Victor remained cool, but there was a glint of restrained fury in his eyes. He knew the fight wasn't lost. There was always a way to manipulate, to turn the tide. Raphael hugged Sophia tightly. "You're safe now, daughter. They won't hurt you anymore." But deep down, he knew Vivian and Victor wouldn't give up so easily. Outside the courthouse, journalists were already waiting. Cameras, flashes, questions fired. The story was no longer confined to the walls of the courthouse. Now the whole world was beginning to know. Outside the courthouse, flashbulbs lit up the night like lightning. Reporters shouted questions. "Raphael, is it true your daughter was abused? Rebecca, what do you have to say about her stepmother? Sophia, do you have anything to say?" Raphael raised his arm to shield his daughter's eyes. "No comment now. Everything will be resolved in court." He hurried to the car, Rebecca at his side, holding Sophia carefully. Inside the vehicle, the silence was heavy. Sophia rested her head on her father's chest. "They're still going to come after us, aren't they?" Her voice trembled. Raphael hugged her. "Leave it to me. No one will hurt you again." But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. Vivian and Victor were dangerous, and now they were injured, which made them even more unpredictable. Meanwhile, in another secluded courtroom, Vivian paced back and forth, furious. "They humiliated me in front of everyone. That audio, how did she manage to record it?" Victor, even with the police watching him, maintained a cool tone. "Rebecca is smarter than I thought. But we still have a way out. If the press starts repeating her version of events, we'll become the absolute villains. We need to strike fast." Vivian paused, taking a deep breath. "And how do you intend to turn this around?" Victor leaned closer. "If we can access Raphael's computer, we can claim he manipulated the recordings to gain custody. If we find false evidence inside, his image will crumble." Vivian bit her lip. "And who would do that for us now? You're under investigation." Victor smirked. "Investigations take time. I have contacts, people who owe favors. Nothing will point to me." Vivian thought for a few seconds and replied venomously, "Do it. I won't lose to that ungrateful child." That night, Rebecca was reviewing the hidden flash drive. She checked the files once, twice, 3 times. She stored copies in different places, a small safe, a sealed envelope with her lawyer, and even in the cloud. "We can't risk it," she told herself. Sophia slept beside her. But her sleep was restless. She moaned softly, reliving the hair-pulling and the screams. Rebecca stroked her hair and silently promised, "I won't let them take this from you again. You will win." As the house fell asleep, a car pulled up on the street. The tinted windows made it impossible to see who was inside, but the dimmed headlights showed it was no ordinary visitor. Victor watched, planning his next move. He took his cell phone out of his pocket and typed a quick message to Vivian. "I'm still in the game. They have no idea what's coming." In the early morning, Raphael woke to a strange noise. He went to the window. Outside, he swore he saw a shadow moving in the garden. He clenched his fists. He knew the war was far from over. The repercussions were quick to surface. The day after the court hearing, television was already showing an image of Raphael with Sophia in his arms. The headline was cruel. "Businessman accused of aggression tries to win custody of daughter in controversial dispute." The words hurt more than any blow. Raphael slammed the TV shut. "They're already messing with the press. It's Vivian's style. Throwing mud until someone believes it." Rebecca paced restlessly. "I've seen comments online. People calling Sophia a liar, saying she makes things up to please you. This campaign didn't start on its own. It's theirs." Sophia, sitting on the sofa, hugged her pillow. Her distant gaze showed she understood every word, even without speaking. "Don't let that get to your head, daughter," Raphael said, kneeling before her. "You told the truth. I know it, and we'll prove it again." Meanwhile, Vivian was in a rented office, surrounded by papers. Victor, even under investigation, was still beside her. "I've already started spreading information," he said. "Old photos. Video clips of Raphael apparently yelling on the phone. With the right captions, it becomes proof that he's aggressive." Vivian smiled. "Perfect. He may have a recording against us, but I have the media on my side. No one judges better than the scandal-hungry public." Victor lit a cigarette, the smoke rising like a shadow. "What if the experts confirm the audio is original?" Vivian pressed her lips together. "Then we'll say it was a setup. That Rebecca is in love with her boss and wants to destroy the marriage to stay in her position. The court loves a vengeful lover story." In his home office, Raphael's lawyer brought bad news. "The campaign against you is gaining momentum. I've received messages from colleagues. They're asking if there really is violence in the home. They know it's not true, but the doubt has been sown." Raphael took a deep breath. "They're playing dirty, but we'll respond with evidence. I want a full forensic analysis of the audio. I want every second validated." Rebecca pounded the table. "And that's not all. We need to fight back. Show Victor who he really is. If we can link him to any illegal activity, they'll lose all credibility." The lawyer nodded. "I've already requested an audit of the company's servers. If Victor deleted files, the traces remain." That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. The fear that no one would believe her gnawed at her. Rebecca stayed by her side, telling her soft stories to soothe her, but even in her sleep, Sophia murmured, "They say I'm nothing." Rebecca took her hand. "You are everything, Sophia. Never forget that again. They will pay for every word." Meanwhile, Vivian recorded a video of herself crying, her makeup smeared. "I just want to protect this girl, but I'm being attacked and defamed. My husband is stalking me and using money to fabricate evidence." She knew how to manipulate the cameras. The video went viral within hours. Raphael watched the scene on his cell phone screen. Each fake tear was a stab, but he didn't back down. "If this is war, we'll go all the way." 2 days later, the experts arrived. The initial report confirmed the audios had not been manipulated. Metadata intact, continuous time, no cuts. It was solid proof. Raphael read each line with trembling hands. "Here it is. It's true. They won't be able to deny it." Rebecca smiled for the first time in days. "Now the truth is starting to come out, but we need to act quickly. If they realize they missed this part, they'll create another, even bigger lie." Meanwhile, Vivian gathered allies in a dark room. She showed the video she had recorded, crying, "Look how the press defends me. The public already sees me as a victim. The audio only matters in court, and there we'll say it's a setup." One of the men beside him muttered, "But if forensics confirms it's real, it's going to be difficult." Vivian glared at him. "Then discredit the expert report. Say the expert is Raphael's friend, that he bought the results, invent connections, make a fuss." Victor remained silent, but his fixed gaze showed he was thinking ahead. If the court doesn't fall for the lie, intimidation is always the only option. Evidence can disappear, people too. Vivian smiled coldly. "Do whatever it takes." Back home, Raphael showed the document to the judge at a new hearing. The judge listened attentively and declared, "With this report, the attempted manipulation of Missy Vivian and security guard Victor becomes increasingly clear. I will open a criminal investigation against both of them." Vivian nearly lost her footing. Her face paled, and for a few seconds her mask slipped. She looked at Victor in despair, but he remained motionless like a statue. Rebecca seized the moment. "Your Excellency, I'm also adding access logs to the house's camera system. All from the same day and time the files disappeared. Guess who was logged in? Victor Ramirez." Rafael's lawyer added, "He not only watched it, he deleted entire segments. We have the original logs." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The judge banged her gavel. "Open criminal proceedings immediately. If the charges are confirmed, both will be charged with abuse, evidence manipulation, and conspiracy." Sophia, sitting next to Rebecca, heard those words and took a deep breath. For the first time, she felt justice being served, but Vivian didn't give up. She stood up and spoke out loudly. "This is a circus. Everyone is against me because they can't stand to see me win. But I won't go down alone. If they want war, they'll get war." Victor tilted his head and murmured to her, "We still have letters. It's not over." As he was leaving, reporters surrounded Raphael. "Do you think your wife might be arrested?" He replied firmly, "I believe the truth is winning. My daughter is no longer alone." Across the street, a dark car waited. Inside, two men watched. One of them called to Victor. "Do you want us to do it now?" Victor replied with frightening calm, "Not yet. Let's wait for the right time." That night, Rebecca reviewed the audio copies again. She hid one in Raphael's company's safe. She kept another with the lawyer. If they try to destroy it, they'll never be able to erase it all. Sophia slept in her room, hugging her teddy bear, but her sleep was still restless. In the middle of the night, she cried out, "She's going to hurt me again." Rebecca ran and hugged her, whispering, "Never again. You have people by your side now." But outside the window a shadow moved, and it reminded everyone that the war was not over yet. The police were quick to act. 2 investigators showed up at the house the next day with a warrant in hand. They searched the surveillance system, the computers, and even Victor's cell phone. Every click, every login, every access was recorded. Raphael watched with his arms crossed, Sophia behind him, clutching the hem of his shirt. Rebecca remained alert, ready to intervene if necessary. Victor, however, seemed unfazed. "This is a waste of time. I was just doing my job. If any files went missing, it was a technical glitch, nothing more." The investigator wasn't fooled. "A technical failure doesn't leave password traces. Here's your login, Mr. Ramirez, exactly at the time the videos were deleted." And with repeated access at the same time, the child was crying in the backyard. A chill ran through the room. Sophia tightened her grip on her father's arm. Vivian tried to salvage the situation. "My God, this is absurd. Victor only did what I told him to. He's an employee, not a culprit." But the investigator was direct. "So you admit that you ordered evidence to be erased?" Vivian paled. "No, that's not what I meant." Raphael's lawyer smirked. "It's all recorded." Immediately, Victor was placed under arrest. 2 officers handcuffed him, but he didn't react. He just looked at Vivian calmly and said, "Don't worry, it's not over yet." Sophia watched with wide eyes. Her heart raced between fear and relief. Rebecca pulled her into her arms, trying to shield her from the sight. Vivian, desperate, shouted, "You can't arrest him! This is unfair! It's Raphael's plan to destroy me!" The judge, informed shortly thereafter, confirmed the decision. Victor would be investigated in custody. Vivian was devastated. She lost her right arm. That night, alone in her room, Vivian kicked furniture, shouting words that echoed like venom. "He won't beat me. Never. I'll finish him off if it's the last thing I do." Raphael, on the other hand, felt a strange peace. Not complete, but enough to take a deep breath. He hugged Sophia and said, "One has already fallen. Now it's just a matter of time for the rest." But Rebecca, more cautious, warned, "Vivian without Victor is dangerous. She has no control anymore. She'll act on her own, and that could be even worse." Raphael knew it was true, and when he received the call from his lawyer confirming that Vivian still had the right to defend herself while free, he understood the game wasn't over. Outside the house, press cameras were already surrounding the gate. The story made daily headlines. Vivian was called a cruel stepmother, but there were also those who still defended her. The world was divided. Sophia, however, began to smile shyly. She drew a sun and a butterfly on the paper. She showed it to her father and said, "Maybe now I can be happy." Raphael held the drawing, excited. "Yes, you will, daughter. Yes, you will." But across town, Vivian was calling a mysterious contact. Her voice was low, filled with hatred. "Victor has fallen, but I haven't. And you will help me destroy Raphael, whatever the cost." The courtroom was packed. Cameras, reporters, curious onlookers. Everyone wanted to see how the case, already dominating headlines, unfolded. The judge entered with a serious expression and asked for silence. "Today we will hear new witnesses and analyze the forensic evidence." Raphael sat next to the lawyer. Rebecca, firm, kept Sophia close, protected by security. Vivian entered next, her head held high. But her eyes betrayed fury. Without Victor by her side, she seemed smaller, but no less dangerous. Raphael's lawyer presented the technical reports. "Your Honor, it's proven. The audio files are original, untampered with. We also have access records showing that Mr. Victor deleted files. This confirms the conspiracy." The judge looked at Vivian. "Do you have anything to say?" Vivian smiled theatrically. "This is all a conspiracy. This recording may even look real. But we all know technology is deceiving. My husband has always been absent. This assistant, Rebecca, has always wanted to take my place. They've teamed up to destroy me." Rebecca stood up, her voice trembling with emotion, but firm. "I didn't want to go anywhere. I just couldn't stand to see a child being humiliated, pulled by the hair, called trash in her own home." Eyes turned to Sophia. The judge asked for her to be heard in a private, protected area. Minutes later, Sophia entered a smaller room, accompanied by a psychologist and the judge. Her voice was low but clear. "She hurt me. She told me I was a burden, that I would never be loved. I was afraid every day." Tears streamed down the psychologist's face. The judge took quick notes. Sophia's sincerity was impossible to ignore. Back in the main courtroom, the judge announced, based on the testimony, technical evidence, and recordings presented, this court has decided to grant permanent custody of the minor to Mr. Raphael Shaw. Furthermore, I am referring Miss Vivian to criminal proceedings for psychological abuse, mistreatment, and conspiracy with security guard Victor Ramirez. A murmur ran through the room. Raphael hugged Sophia with tears in his eyes. Rebecca sighed, finally feeling justice breathing with her. Vivian exploded. "This is a farce. I won't stand for it. I'll destroy you, Raphael. You too, Rebecca." "No one will laugh at me." She was restrained by the officers, but she continued screaming. Outside, the cameras captured everything. The mask of the perfect wife fell before the entire country. Vivian left in handcuffs, while Sophia was protected by her father. But not everyone celebrated. One reporter, looking at his cell phone, muttered, "There are people saying on social media that the story isn't convincing, that it was all staged." The case still divides opinion. Raphael realized he had won in court, but the public war wasn't over. The world now watched his every move, waiting to see if he was a hero or a villain. That night, Sophia slept more peacefully, but deep inside the house, Rebecca found an envelope pushed under the door. Inside was a single handwritten sentence: "Nothing is over." The following days were filled with relief and also with grief. The court's decision granted Raphael permanent custody, but the press was relentless. Headlines were divided. Some portrayed Sophia as a courageous victim. Others echoed Vivian's version, calling it all well-rehearsed theatre. At school, Sophia walked with her head down. Some children whispered, "It's that girl from TV." Others, more cruel, repeated things they'd heard at home. She made it all up to be with her father. Each word was like a thrown stone. Rebecca met her at the exit, always with an encouraging smile. "Don't mind them. You know the truth, and more people will know it too." At home, Raphael struggled to create a new routine. She made pancakes for breakfast, took Sophia to therapy twice a week, and encouraged her to draw. The girl's room was adorned with colors, paints, and paper. With each drawing, Sophia showed a little piece of healing. But Vivian's shadow wouldn't disappear. Even far away, on probation, she found ways to attack. She used her media contacts to release defamatory statements. Raphael is controlling. He doesn't let Sophia have any freedom. The words circulated like poison. One night, Raphael received an anonymous call. The male voice was low and cold. "You think you've won, but you still don't know Vivian. She doesn't forget. She doesn't forgive." The call ended before he could respond. Rebecca suggested beefing up the house's security. "We can't risk it. Victor might be trapped." But Vivian is unpredictable, and alone. She could be even more dangerous. Sophia, listening from the stairs, said softly, "She'll be back, won't she?" Raphael hugged her. "If you come back, you'll find us ready. You're not alone now. You have me, Rebecca, and a lot of people ready to fight for you." Despite the fear, there were signs of hope. Sophia smiled shyly as she showed a drawing. Herself, her father, and Rebecca holding hands under a clear sky. But in the corner of the paper, she drew a shadow watching from afar. "That's her. She'll never leave my mind." Rebecca swallowed. "But it will get smaller and smaller until it disappears." Meanwhile, in a small, dark apartment, Vivian stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were red with anger, but her mouth was smiling. "They think it's over, but I still have allies. I still have strength." She picked up the phone and called someone whose name she didn't reveal. "It's time. We'll make them pay." At the same moment, at Raphael's house, the phone vibrated. A message with no sender. The worst is yet to come. The day of the final judgment arrived. The courtroom was full again, but the atmosphere was different. Now there was anticipation of the outcome. Vivian entered under escort, handcuffed, but still with the same look of hatred. Raphael held Sophia's hand, Rebecca at his side, firm as ever. The prosecutor presented the latest evidence: forensic reports, intercepted messages, and even statements from employees who confirmed Vivian's orders to humiliate the girl. The voices were clear. She didn't hide her racism, her cruelty, her desire to destroy. The judge looked at Vivian and said sternly, "The evidence is overwhelming. It has been proven that you committed psychological and physical abuse against a defenseless child, and that you conspired with your accomplice, Victor Ramirez, to manipulate evidence and mislead this court." A silence filled the room. Then the sentence: closed prison regime for Vivian Shaw and Victor Ramirez, both convicted of abuse, conspiracy, and tampering with evidence. Vivian tried to scream, but her voice was muffled by the officer's orders. "That's a lie. You'll pay, all of you." The handcuffs glinted as she was led away. Victor, cold to the core, just stared at Raphael and said, "One day, everyone pays." Sophia shrank back into the seat, but took a deep breath. She looked at her father and asked softly, "Is it over?" Raphael hugged her tightly. "It's over, daughter. You're free now." Rebecca cried beside her, finally allowing the weight to lift from her chest. "No one will ever call you anything you're not again. You are light, Sophia." Outside, the press reported, "Stepmother convicted of abuse and security guard arrested after family scandal." Society was divided on the subject, but the truth was there, clearly visible. Over the next few months, Sophia began to smile more. In therapy, she drew suns, flowers, and colorful little houses. The once grey room now had walls decorated with stars she'd painted herself. Raphael regained his composure, working and caring for his daughter with pride. Rebecca remained by his side, a guardian and friend. A year later, Sophia participated in a school exhibition. She showed a simple painting, herself, her father, and Rebecca holding hands under a blue sky. In the corner, a small, almost invisible, black shadow. When asked what it was, she replied, "It's just a piece of the past. It doesn't scare me anymore." The audience applauded. Raphael wiped away a tear. Rebecca smiled. But that same night, when Raphael arrived home, he found an envelope thrown at the gate. Inside was just a sheet of paper with red letters, "You won today, but the shadow never disappears." He tore up the paper and burned it in the backyard, hugging Sophia. His heart knew the fight had ended in court, but the scars of war would never completely disappear, and that was how the story ended. With justice served, a girl free to start over. But with the eternal reminder that evil always leaves traces, and that courage is the only way to face it. If you liked this story, I invite you to subscribe to the channel now, and leave a comment, and share it with 5 people you love. Until tomorrow.